Questions 1 through 10 on the 2021 grade 12 AMC 12B. How many integer values of x satisfy absolute value of x is less than 3 pi? 3 pi, pi is 3.14 approximately, so 3 pi would be 9.42. And we want the absolute value of x to be less than that, so that means x will be less than 9.42. Or x will be greater than minus 9.42. So these integers would be negative 9, negative 8, dot, 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 all the way till 0. And then 1, 2, 3, all the way up until 8, and then 9. So this is 9, this is 1, don't forget the 0. And those would be another 9. So 9 plus 1 plus 9, 19. The answer to number 1. At a math contest, 57 students are wearing blue shirts. Another 75 students are wearing yellow shirts. The 132 students are assigned into 66 pairs. In exactly 23 of these pairs, both students are wearing blue shirts. In how many pairs are both students wearing yellow shirts? 57 and 75. And that would be 132 students in total. They are taking those and making them into 66 pairs. And then they're saying the first group of 23 pairs, which would obviously be 46 students, those are both wearing blue. So those are blue-blue combinations. Each pair is wearing blue-blue. So now we have to look at what other pairs are there. Well, 46 students, all of whom are wearing blue t-shirts, were chosen from those 57. So that means 57 minus 46, there's 11 students remaining. 11 S for students. And then they have to be paired, because they're saying that they're all assigned into 66 pairs, okay? So we have to pair them with 11 students. But there's no more blue t-shirts, so those 11 students must all have Y. These are blue. And that is 11 and 11, 22 students, and therefore that's 11 pairs. Okay, so now how many pairs do we have left? 66 minus 23 minus 11. That is 32 pairs. We need to talk about that though. 32 pairs would be 64 students. And I think all the blues are exhausted. So the only thing left are the yellows. So these are all yellows. These are yellow pairs. And that's what they want. How many pairs are both students wearing yellow t-shirts? That's 32. So number 2, the answer is B. What is the value of x in this expression? All right. So here we go. 1 over 1 plus 1 over. So this bottom guy, let's get common denominator, top and bottom by 3 plus x. So that's going to be 6 plus 2x plus 2 over 3 plus x, right? So that's 2 plus 1 over, we can invert and multiply, so it'll be 3 plus x over 2x plus 8, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Let's get a common denominator again. So that's going to be 2x plus 8 plus 3 plus x, and that's all over 2x plus 8. And that looks to me like 3x plus 11 over 2x plus 8, but I can invert and multiply, or I don't need to multiply, just invert and multiply with 1, not much of a calculation really. So that's 3x plus 11. Okay, I think I'm almost done. Get a common denominator again. So it'll be 3x plus 11 times 2, which is 6x plus 22, plus 2x plus 8, and that's all over 3x plus 11. So finally, that is 8x plus 30 over 3x plus 11. And that is what is equal to that 144 over 53. Okay, we still got to do this now. I thought it was going to be over, but it's not. Okay, cross multiply once more, and I got 424x plus 1590. On this side, 432x plus 1584. 8x is equal to 6. Okay, great. So x is 6 over 8, which is 3 over 4. Okay, so that wasn't so bad. Number 3, that would be A. Mrs. Blackwell gives an exam to 2 classes. The mean of the scores of the students in the morning class is 84, and the afternoon class's mean is 70. The ratio of the number of students in the morning class to the number of students in the afternoon class is 3 over 4. What is the mean of the score of all students? Well, let's just say it's 3x and 4x. So 3x times 84, and that would give me the sum there, and 4x times 70, that would give me the total sum there. We add those sums and divide by the total number of students, which is 3x plus 4x. And there we go. The x's cancel, so all we are left with is that 252, and that 4 times 70, which is 280, all over 7. And when you do that math, that is 76. So number 4, the answer is C. Point AB in the xy plane is first rotated counterclockwise by 90 degrees around the point 15 and then reflected around the line y equals negative x. The image of P after these two transformations is at negative 6, 3. What is B minus A? Let's draw a graph and let's see what we get. Well, they've got that y equals negative x, right? So that's the one that goes right through like that. And then minus 6 positive 3, minus 6 positive 3. So approximately here is our final point, right? So let's work backwards. So that means that happened after it was reflected in the line y equals x. So that means this point here, that's got to be minus 3 and 6. Yeah, minus 3 and 6. And then that point was obtained by rotating from the point 15. So 15 is approximately here. So what they did was they took the point and rotated 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees like that. So this may not be perfectly drawn to scale, but it's relatively decent in terms of its description of what happens, that you take that point, you rotate it 90 degrees about this point, and that's how you get to minus 3, 6, and then that minus 3, 6 is reflected in the line y equals negative x to get to minus 6, 3. Okay, so we are in search of this point, which they have labeled A, B. Okay, actually they want B minus A, but first obviously we have to look at what A and B could be. Well, the good news is that this line is perpendicular to that line. That's what 90 degrees means. So that means those slopes would be negative reciprocals. So if one slope, for example, was 3, the other slope would be negative 1 over 3, negative reciprocals. So this point is 15, so we can easily figure out the slope of this guy, and then we'll figure out the slope of that guy. So here we go. The first slope is going to be 6 minus 5, rise over run, minus 3 minus 1. So that is 1 over 4, negative 1 over 4. So the other guy would be just 4, the negative reciprocal of this. So that means if I take the slope of this, b minus 5 over a minus 1 would be equal to 4. So cross multiply, b minus 5 is equal to 4a minus 4. So that means b is equal to 4a plus 1. Okay, and so now let's visit that b minus a. b minus a looks like 4a plus 1 minus a, and that is 3a plus 1. So 3a plus 1 is the answer, but they've got numbers, and I don't really need to worry about what the actual values of a and b are. 3a plus 1 basically is a multiple of 3 plus 1. And the only one of those that would work is 7, right? That's when a is equal to 2. If a was equal to 0, it would be 1. But here's the thing. A is not going to be 0. As you can clearly see from the diagram, it's got to be greater than 1. So I'm convinced that number 5, the answer is D. An inverted cone with base radius 12 and height 18 is full of water. The water is poured into a tall cylinder whose horizontal base has a radius of 24. What is the height in centimeters of the water in the cylinder? Well, we have a cone, inverted cone like that, and then we've got this cylinder, and they've told me here the radius is 12 and the height is 18. Here they just tell me the radius is 24. Okay, so the amount of water that's poured in is the exact same, so we have to sort of match these. The volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared times height, and that's got to equal the water in the cylinder, and that volume formula is pi r squared times height. So let's just use big R and big H, even though that may not necessarily be true that this is bigger. Most likely this is much smaller. But in any case, you understand. The pi's disappear, so the only thing left is 1/3. This is 12 squared, and this is 18. This is 24 squared, and this is the only variable left. So now this is a pretty simple calculation. When you crunch out all those numbers, you get H equal to 1.5. And that's it. So number 6, the answer is A. Let n equal 34 times 34 times 63 times 270. What is the ratio of the sum of the odd divisors of n to the sum of the even divisors of n? Well, n in this case, I've got to break it up into its prime factors. So it looks like 2 times 17, 2 times 17 again. Then looks like 3 times 3 times 7. And then 2 times 5 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, let's put them all together. 2 to the power of 3, 5 to the power of 2, sorry, 3 to the power of 5, that's what I meant to say, 5 to the power of 1, 7 to the power of 1, and then 17 to the power of 2. Okay, so let's talk about this. The odd divisors, if you just look at those ones, those are these guys. And then there's only one even divisor, and that's the 2. The odd divisors, if you just looked at that, and you add them up, the sum, I don't know what the sum is. It's going to be a lot of work to figure out the sum, but we don't need to know. We'll label it as M. And then when we start to make the even divisors, basically all you do is you take every one of those odd divisors and multiply by some power of 2. Either you'd multiply by 2 to the power of 1, which would give me 2 to the power of 1 times m, or you'd multiply by 2 to the power of 2m, or you'd multiply by 2 to the power of 3m. And that's the way you'd get each even divisor. This gives me 2m, this gives me 4m, and this gives me 8m. So the sum of all the even divisors would be 2m, 4m, plus 8m, that is 14m. So therefore, the ratio of the sum of the odd divisors to the sum of the even divisors looks like m to 14m, and of course, that's 1 to 14. Therefore, number 7, the answer is C. 3 equally spaced parallel lines intersect a circle, creating 3 chords, 38, 38, and 34. What is the distance between 2 adjacent parallel lines? Well, there's my circle, and I've got to draw this in a way so that 2 are absolutely equal. So I think those are equal. And then from the same distance, I've got to draw a third chord. So I think that's pretty decent. And then what I'll do is I'll draw one line top to bottom like that. And I think that's pretty good. Okay, so this is the center right here. So let's start labeling. The distance between 2 parallel lines I'll just call x. So that's the distance right there. And since, because of the symmetry of this diagram, the distance from there to there is going to be x over 2. Because those two lines have to be equidistant from the center in order for them to be equal. Okay, so Pythagorean theorem, basically. The first one is going to involve that triangle. The second one will involve that triangle. And the lengths we will label. The big ones are 38, so if you chop them in half, that'd be 19. So that means from there to there is 19. And then the small one is 34, so when you cut it in half, that distance will be 17. All right, so we got two Pythagorean relationships. The first one is that triangle. That's going to be that the radius r squared, which is the red line, is going to be 19 squared plus x over 2 squared. Okay, the second one is this triangle. That one, the radius squared is 17 squared plus x over 2. So that's 3x over 2, all squared. Okay, so you set them equal to each other since they're both equal to r squared. So that's x squared over 4. And that is 9x squared over 4. So 19 squared is 361. Subtract from that 17 squared, which is 289. And on that side, we'd get 8x squared over 4. So this is 72. That's 2x squared. That means x squared is 36. X is 6. And that is what they wanted, the distance between two adjacent parallel lines, which I have denoted as x. So number 8, the answer is B. What is the value of this expression? Okay, so one immediate rule that came to mind as soon as I saw that was that the log of a to the base b is equal to 1 over the log of b to the base a. So I think that will be very helpful. So let's see here. So that means I can write it as follows. The log of 40 to the base 2, right, when I bring it up, inverse it, and then this is the log of 80 to the base 2. Okay, that's pretty good. And then this one, again, log of 20 to the base 2, and then multiply that by the log of 160 to the base 2. Okay, so I got everything in terms of base 2. That's very good. Now I think all of these are multiples, 40, 80, 160. So this will be the log of 2 times 20 base 2, log of 4 times 20 base 2, then the log of 20 base 2, the log of 8 times 20 base 2. Okay, using log rules, that looks like the log of 2 to the base 2 plus the log of 20 to the base 2 plus the, actually, I can't do the plus. I have to just sort of do a multiplication. Log of 4 to the base 2, and then the log of 20 to the base 2. Okay, subtract from that the log of, that's just 20. Okay, I didn't really have to do anything there. And then the log of 8 to the base 2 plus the log of 20 to the base 2. Okay. Now, the log of 20 to the base 2, let's just call that x, since that appears so many times. So I'll just write that over here. Log of 20 to the base 2. Let's just call that x, and then we can substitute it back. So this guy, that's just 1. This is x. And then log of 4 to the base 2, that's log of 2 to the power 2. The 2 comes out front, so that becomes 2. Then we have x. X here. This one here is 3, because that's the log of 2 to the power of 3 to the power of 2. The 3 comes out front. And then this is, of course, just 1. And then, again, we have x. Okay, that's pretty good. Now let's expand this. So 2 plus x plus 2x plus x squared minus 3x minus x squared. Okay, so this cancels with that, that cancels with that. Oh, great. I'm left with 2. I didn't have to bother with substituting it back in. Okay, the answer is 2, so that would be D for number 9. two distinct numbers are selected from the set 1 through 37, so that the sum of the remaining 35 numbers is the product of these two numbers. What is the difference between these two numbers? Well, first of all, I'd like to figure out what is the sum of all those numbers going up all the way to 37. And that formula, of course, is n times n plus 1 over 2, where n is the last number. In this case, is 37. So 37 times 38 divided by 2, and that is 703. Okay, great. So that full sum, and let's say my numbers are a and b. So I take out a and I take out b, and then the remaining sum is the product of those two numbers. So it would be a times b. So that's the math. Let's see if I can do this without trial and error, because trial and error is going to take a long time, and I really don't feel like that right now. So let's see, 703, put this on the other side and see if that gives me anything. A plus b. Okay. It'd be very helpful if I could factor this somehow, and right now I don't think I can. But this looks very similar to something that includes a 1. So if I put a 1 on this side and a 1 on that side, I think I should be able to factor it. There would be a, b, 1 and 1. Yeah, because it would be AB plus A plus B plus 1, right? So that becomes 704. Okay, that's very helpful. Now I think it's easier. What is 704? 704, in terms of its prime factors, and my numbers are between 1 and 37, right? Well, 704, one way of writing it is 22 times 32. Yeah. So those two numbers are definitely within my range. So that means this could be 22 and this could be 32. So that means A will be 21 and B will be 31. Okay, great. So that means the difference between those two numbers would just be B minus A, which is 31 minus 21, which is 10. There you go. Number 10, the answer is 10. And that's choice E.